All right, guys, welcome back to 90 Minutes or More Breakdown, our weekly podcast. You already know what it is, breaking down all the football news around the world in Canada and are back at it once again. So, this is episode 7 of our weekly podcast that we've been doing. We've been very thankful for all the engagement that we've been getting, all the viewership, all the new audience and subscribers. We are super happy to, continue rocking. Of course, you already know we have the Sensei on the chat, and yeah, we are about to make it happen for episode 7. How's it going, Vicente? How's things on your end?
All good here. All good here. This
Yeah,
week, you can say that there's a lot of things that happen in football, so there's
yeah,
a lot to talk about for sure.
100%, 100%. A lot of news, especially at the start of the year. A lot of transitions, January transfer window. So definitely a lot to talk about. All right, of course. So we have the UEFA Champions League knockout playoff round that has finally been announced and finally been drawn. And we know some of the matchups essentially of the playoff team. So, of course, UEFA changed their format and they have 8 teams that automatically go through, and then 16 teams that fight off for the last spots. And then we go to the round of 16. So we have some interesting matchups off the outlook, sorry. You have them in front of you now, right?
I do, yes.
Okay, perfect, perfect. All right. So, is there any matchups you want to talk about before I just go through them? Or
Well, first, I wanted to re-talk about the fact that Madrid was on the spot, and then Barca was able to get into the 5th spot. That's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
And well, that's beneficial for Barca in the league, but I see that Madrid's path is actually easier than Barcelona's in this regard because I want to talk about the matchups that Real Madrid could have. I think that's interesting to see.
100%. Yeah. So Madrid. So it's very interesting, actually. That's a great topic to bring up because I don't know if you've seen the drama that happened with the Benfica goalkeeper scoring in the last minute, actually, to go up 4-2 against Real Madrid. And
Yeah, yeah.
Benfica actually made it in just by the hair of their skin, just off the goalkeeper scoring in the 94th, 95th minute, which is absolutely absurd. And then on top of it, they get to face Real Madrid once again, and Benfica and Madrid were actually drawn together.
You're,
Yeah, and I know you're kind of making, I guess, some comments about how Madrid has the easier path, did you say?
I mean, technically, yeah. Then I'm comparing it to Barcelona in this regard.
Would you say it's still easy even though they just lost to Benfica 4-2?
Well, Benfica is a good team,
And given like
uh,
kind of where I don't think any game is
but
easy for Madrid, but yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Because plus there is an extra game, but I think Madrid is going to go all in against Benfica this time. I don't think they're gonna. Plus, you have to know that in this, like, it's going to be a tough match because Mourinho is also very.
Yeah.
He's an
That's another
expert
big
on
thing.
the knockout, right? So yeah, we'll see. I think if they go through Benfica, I think they might get far. Like we talked about our candidates last week. I
Yeah.
still think Madrid is one of the most probably top 3 candidates for me, especially after seeing these matchups. Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. I actually got a chance to watch Real Madrid this past weekend. I believe they were facing I can't remember who they were facing actually.
This past weekend,
Yeah, yeah. Who are they facing?
Vallecano.
Vallecano. That's the team, Vallecano. So anyway, so I was watching that game, or most of that game at least, and I was seeing, the kind of the way they were playing. I was trying to identify Arbeloa's style and what exactly he wants to see out of this team. And honestly, I do not know if Madrid can compete. I think Benfica is manageable. I do think Benfica is manageable, but I think against any of the top competition, like Madrid's going to be facing a team in a different league with it. And the reason I say that is specifically, the tactics that I've seen Arbeloa using. They seem a bit outdated, to be honest with you. They
Okay.
seem very basic. I noticed that he's still continuing to tell his forwards up top, Mbappe, Cole, essentially to not to press, right? To not even give a half press or use any sort of basic pressing. And what it seems to me is that he actually uses his wide players to close down, because essentially in football, normally the ball can go out wide. And what I noticed is then the left back or the right back or whoever's in the wide position will close down and then have Kamavinga and Chouameni in the middle of the park, right? And I was very confused because in this type of football right now, like that is very easy to carve out, you know. And I know a lot of the Madristas have been saying like a team can score on us at any given time. You know? So that's my thoughts on Madrid, at least from what I've seen in the last matchup. I felt like the tactics are very outdated, and they have players in positions that are essentially almost useless. So yeah, but Mbappe, Vinny, of course, definitely spark them at any time. But yeah, it's still going to be interesting to see Mourinho, especially coming back to Madrid. And that matchup, and to see, there's always something with Mourinho. We already know. So I would not be surprised if Benfica, were very close to winning or possibly to turn the tide.
Yeah.
Okay, so we also have Monaco and Paris Saint-Germain, who are the current title holders of UCL. I don't think there's too much of a match there. It's two French teams, and I think PSG also drew another French team last year in the same situation. I think it was Stade Brand or Brest. Yeah, right. So, um, yeah, not too many thoughts on that. I think it should be an easy one for PSG, especially since they know that team. I don't know that Monaco has any, hero story right now going for them. I don't know if there's like a prodigy or something like that, like for Monaco, but yeah. Any thoughts on that?
Well, there is a pro and a con for especially this matchup. I think Monaco, it's a little bit better than whatever they matched last year, Brest, right? It's also a much more historical team, and for them would be really important to like go through. And they also know PSG very well because they play in their league, right? So in that regard, Monaco, I think they have, I want to say a 20% chance to win. I think it's possible. It's more possible than if PSG would have faced a different team because when you know a team, you know how to counter it. You know it from your league. Like it's a different story, right?
Yeah,
It could
yeah,
be, yeah. Plus, you're playing with your people in both games, most likely, because you're gonna be friends for both games, right?
yes.
So there is a possibility, and you never know. Like Monaco is probably going to try to park the bus very well, and then PSG is not comfortable with that. And Monaco has some good players. I think Ansu Fati is still on a loan there too.
Okay, there you go.
Um,
Yeah.
Never know. Like one counter attack, 1-0, and then park the bus till the end of the game. So I would give a 20 to 30% chance to Monaco to actually make be a surprise for this Champions League. I
Yeah,
always
I agree.
felt,
I
yeah,
agree. I agree. Like I said, there could be an underdog story there that we don't know exactly, And like you said, with the closeness in the French league, they know them very well. I agree. There's definitely that underdog chance there. So we'll see how that goes. And so I guess PSG and Monaco would also be in the Barcelona or Chelsea brackets. You guys would end up
yeah.
facing as well, right? So of course, I'm pretty sure you would, rather Monaco. How?
I got a couple opinions of that too.
Yeah, go ahead.
Uh, so I think so I always prioritize the league more. So I think if we face PSG on an early stage and we're out of the Champions League, because I don't think Barcelona is going to win this Champions League, right off the bat. I do not have them on my top 5 candidates for
Fair
this
enough.
year.
Fair enough.
But yeah, so if we get eliminated early by PSG, I would feel much more in peace, right? Because I'll be like, okay, we might have gotten out of the Champions League kind of early, but at least we were eliminated by PSG, so that takes away a little bit of the pressure. And all those jokes are like, oh, Barcelona hasn't won the Champions League in 11 years, blah blah blah, Euro, blah blah. They're gonna face out much quicker than if, let's say, we're eliminated by Monaco or Newcastle on the other hand.
Fair enough. Fair enough. However, I think that is a double-edged sword. The reason is because Barcelona's only 1 point up in La Liga, right? So I still believe having a successful Champions League would be financially in guys' favor. And also, like I said, if you're eliminated from the Champions League, it doesn't mean that you're going to win the league for sure. It means that you might have more rest, and I get that happy piece. But be careful. Is all I'm saying. Careful because at the end of the day, you'd rather one or the other, and and I'm speaking from experience with Inter last year, right? You're this close to everything, and you end up with nothing. But regardless, uh, it's still being second in football isn't always, as I always say, right? Anyhow, so that's the interesting part. I guess the next matchup, Karabakh, Newcastle. I haven't. I followed Newcastle a little bit. I actually, you know what? I think the fact that Karabakh is at this stage, and I don't think that they've had an amazing season, but maybe they could be under the radar. Newcastle not having, most outstanding season. Maybe they might be thinking the same way as you and prioritizing the Champions League spot or the UEFA spot, right? Rather than
Yeah.
going far in this tournament. So I could see that being a situation. We shall see. Unless you have any last thoughts on that.
Not really. I think,
Really?
yeah, definitely an interesting game to see. But yeah, as you said, I think they're prioritizing something else. I think at this point they have made it as far, so they're probably gonna, of course, they're gonna play their game, but I think it's gonna be with a different level of intensity, maybe.
Facts. Yeah, 100%. 100%. I definitely see that. Could go a little back and forth. And if they win, they win. I think. Crash out of the league for this game. The next one is Bodo and Inter. Of course, I was very happy with the matchup that we got. Although Bodo Glimt has actually been a very outstanding team over the last 2 seasons. They went far in the Europa League last year, I believe. They might have got to the final if I'm not mistaken, the final or semifinal, they definitely got to. And you know what? I've seen them play. They're just a pesty team. They're one of those
Yeah.
teams. They have fast players. They beat Man City 2 weeks ago. Actually,
Yeah.
they have I guess a little speedy physical team, very pestering. Although I do feel like for this style of matchup, like Inter is very favorable, and we definitely have the advantage when it comes to style of play. I don't know if Bodo Glimt's going to be able to adapt to the intensity and the approach that we're going to take. But hey, it's still football. It's still 90 minutes, so you never know.
Or
Um,
more.
yeah, 90 minutes or more. That's it. That's it. Any comments on that matchup or?
Not really. I would put like 90%, 95% chance on Inter on this one.
Yeah, yeah,
I think Inter is definitely on my top five for this Champions League.
yeah.
Just Italian teams are very strong on the Champions League, especially when they are strong. I know we haven't seen an Italian team
Win.
winning in a long time, but I always feel that for some reason they are physically strong. They are very difficult to beat.
100%.
This few, I would say, last 20 years, it's been a lot of Madrid and Premier League teams. But I think now we're seeing the return of Inter in the finals. I think Milan was in the semifinals a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
Milan,
yeah.
Atalanta is becoming a team that's always there for some reason.
It's true.
Yeah, so it's I think we're in an era we're gonna see the comeback of Italian teams.
Yeah,
Also because there's no more Messi, no more Cristiano, no more players that are absolutely different. You know,
yeah,
they're a
exactly. It's
lot more.
more team based teams. And I think it's a mix. I think Italian teams are definitely financially motivated in the Champions League, you know what I mean, because what they went through. So I know those checks hit differently. And then like through Inter's success over the last 5 years in the Champions League, their financial situation is completely turned around almost, not complete 360, but I've been hearing some of the reports and it's very favorable. And I think in the city, there's a lot of focus on winning tools, right? And winning your space and owning your space, you know what I mean? Whereas some of so I think that just favors where football is at. Well, kind of almost how Arsenal played, like,
Exactly.
using your physicality to win your duels,
Yeah.
Um, so should be
It's always
interesting
been like
there.
that, right? It's
Yeah,
always been sort of like that, for
it's fine.
sure. And yeah, I think the Italian league is the one you follow it pretty much every week,
Yeah,
and I kind of regret not following too because I'm gonna try to go back to it because yeah, there was an era where Juventus as well. They were in three or two or three
unbeatable.
finals.
Yeah,
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 and keep forgetting about that too. So it's always they're always there
Yeah,
for some. Yeah.
100%, 100%. Yeah, speaking of Juventus, they have Galatasaray. It should be an interesting matchup. I think where for where Juve is at, like they kind of match up. Like it's a pretty big matchup. I know, or a pretty even matchup. I know Kenan Yildiz is also a Turkish player who's playing for Juventus, so I don't know how that's going to be looked at from the Galatasaray standpoint. If he's going to try to, have a really good game. What do you think about Galatasaray, Juventus? Two interesting kind of
Galatasaray is
big.
when you play in their stadium is like an oven. That's what
Yeah,
people say to the
yeah,
players, right?
yeah.
So at home it's going to be hard for Juve, but I think Juve is finding, for what I've seen a little bit, I think they're finding their shape, kind of their style of playing. I think because it's like this manager. What's the name of the manager of Juventus?
Is it still Allegri?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's Allegri.
So I think he's finding his team with and is it Blahovic that's
No,
playing
no,
for
sorry. Allegri is for AC Milan right now. Spalletti, sorry. Spalletti.
Spalletti?
Yeah,
There it is.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think he's not been there for long, and I think he's finding, his team there. So we'll see probably. Plus, if you go back and remember the Real Madrid with Juventus matchup on the group stage or in the mini league, Juventus was better in that game. I think they were better, and Madrid won because a couple of weird referee decisions. But
Oh,
yeah,
okay, okay. No way.
I think Juventus was they played better in that game for sure.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
found, yeah. So
Yeah, you know what? I think Juventus they've had some consistency in their roster, and they've also had some inconsistency in their roster. I think that's over the last few years. And then their style of play, I think it needed changing, and I think that's what Spalletti he's finally been
yeah,
able to do a little bit. So they're easier to watch because for the last 2-3 years, Juventus has been a very hard watch. They have almost no bravery. It's really focused on the fundamentals of football. So it's very funny actually. It's very funny because they're so strict in their fundamentals that they don't see the opportunity of creativity. Like,
yeah,
anyways, like you said, in Galatasaray, you know how it is when you're playing in their home stadium. It's absolute madness. And yeah, and then another big point is Victor Osimhen, right? So Victor Osimhen played for Galatasaray, and he knows Juventus very well through his playing time at Napoli.
yes.
I imagine he will probably score in one of these legs, or if not both. So yeah, we will see how that happens, how that goes down. All right, next one, Borussia Dortmund and Atalanta.
I
Yeah,
like Atalanta,
right, right, right. Yeah, no, they have a very interesting team. Gasperini
but they
always.
they just lost. I think Atletico Madrid. They just took his striker, right?
Lookman, yes, correct.
Kind
So,
of
and then,
complicated, but you know, I think he didn't want to stay in Atalanta for longer. So when you have a player that's a little bit unhappy, it's
yeah,
always better to let him go.
the funny thing about that one is Inter actually offered 40 million plus 5 million bonus in the summertime, and Atalanta rejected it, and then went to Atletico for 35. So it took less money to not sell
Yeah,
him to
they try to sell
a
it from
rival.
to another
Yeah, yeah,
league.
exactly. Yeah,
But
exactly.
Atletico Madrid, they pay a lot on variables and stuff, so I might be a bit more than that. Who
Yeah,
knows?
Cholo Mafia over there.
I don't know where they get the money because the trophies are not there.
Yeah, right. That's what I said. Cholo Mafia. They just signed
But they always
not too
are.
long.
They always are in the top four. They're always in the Champions League. They're always like, yeah. So they make money. They for sure make money.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. True, true, true. Um, yeah. So speaking of Atletico, that's the next matchup against Club Brugge. Uh, I haven't seen Club Brugge play too much this year, but I do know they're feisty, and they're one of those Belgium teams that can counterattack and hit you at any given time, and they're not afraid. And Atletico Madrid, honestly, I've been very critical of what they're going through. I've been very critical of their transfers and the way their roster looks right now. I'll start with Atletico. Yeah, I think a lot of parts of their roster do not really gel together as well as they think it would. I think they have a lot of industrial players that do like to work and do get the job done. You know what I mean? But I think there's yeah, they've been a hard watch as well the last months.
Fair enough.
Yeah, you have any comments on?
I do follow the league. I think it's complicated for them because it might be bad to like always go into the league and not kind of seeing Real Madrid and Barcelona going forward. So that in itself makes you lose points throughout your campaign because you see like now I'm 3 points under, and then the next week it's harder because you're already 3 points under. So winning the next game becomes harder and harder and harder. So
Yeah.
that definitely, it's not a great motivator for the players. So that's one thing that I want to point. And the other thing is that I think that all they have at this point is their Champions League, right? So they probably will try to end up in the top 4 in the league, and they will try to play because they're good. They're good in 2 games. They're very difficult to beat, especially if
Mhm.
you're at, let's say, especially for the best teams. Atletico Madrid is a very uncomfortable team to try to defeat. So let's say
Right.
if you have, let's say, a team like Manchester City or even Real Madrid, like last year, or even, I don't know, PSG or Barcelona, it's always hard to beat them in 2 games because they play
Mhm.
those 180 minutes. I think Cholo controls the 180 minutes as one game, so he really knows how to progress through the whole 2 games, right? So
Right. Right.
I think
Where,
he's very smart in that regard.
where I'm critical of it is over the last 2 years, like the way they play for me, at least when I watch them, it just seems like whether it be a big team, whether it be a small team, whether it be a mid-tier team, they don't really have control too much of the game. And I don't know, maybe that's the way they play. They like without control and more with chaos type thing. And
Yeah.
that's fine. That could be a tactic. For me, it's tough to watch because you're always on the fence with Atletico. You never know if they're playing good or if it's just moments. And you know what I mean? They have their moments versus an overall, okay, we've been playing great for the last 2 months. You know what I mean? Like Barcelona, you can look at them and be like, they've been playing great. They're scoring like 4 goals a game. Lamine playing good. Lewandowski, Rashford, whatever. Like you could point out, there's clear signals, with teams, with Inter or whatever. Like Lautaro, he's top of the Serie A right now in goals. And there's clear signals. With Atletico, there's no clear signal as to who's playing good. Which one of your players is playing good? Because Julian Alvarez, we know he's on his cold streak, and Sorloth. It's like you're scoring, but you're not lighting it up. Griezmann, he's pitching in here and there. You know what I mean? So it's just for me, it's hard to find the signals as to what is what does prime Atletico Madrid look like right now? Like, what is their top? And the games against Barcelona, games against Real Madrid, we've seen them go up 3-0 on Barcelona last year. I think one game they were up 2-3-0, and then Barcelona came 2-0. Okay, and it was a tight thing, and Barcelona just they almost treated it like it was no problem. You know what I mean? And I don't think a big club should get treated like that. You go up 2-0 against a big team, you need to have more. So that's my little.
This year they destroyed Real Madrid 5-2.
They did that one game. Yeah.
So I think for Atletico, it's, you know what you say. Yeah, these couple of years, I think they still have not found a player like Griezmann prime, which
Mhm.
like embodies the style of Atletico Madrid. When he's on the field, I can tell when Atletico Madrid is kind of more controlling of the game, right? So because first of all, he can play as a striker and also almost like a midfielder as well. And I feel he truly embodies the style of Atletico Madrid
Mhm.
because he kind of controls the game in a different way because it's more
Yes.
on the physical side, right?
Right.
And so I still feel that maybe with Julian they were trying to do the same, but no way, right? So I still think that they are trying to find a player that gives Atletico Madrid that control of the game their way, like Griezmann did in his prime when they were playing 4-4-2. Now Cholo is being forced to play a 3-6-1 because Griezmann is not in the starting 11 anymore,
Right.
right? Before it was like a 4-4-2, very solid, very compact team, very hard to
Yeah.
beat too.
All right.
I think maybe the signing of Lookman, it's in the search of a player that gives them that physical control on the midfield upwards to
Right,
the
right. The speed factor. He wants to, you know what I mean? He wants to make players tired. Like he wants to make the opponents tired, and have that player that can make a 30-yard sprint or you know what I mean? Control the game in that way. Take the opponent out of their breath a bit. So I understand that. I just I don't know. It seems like a bit of a mix up. Even if that's the case, fine. There's still other areas of the team that need to be addressed in my
yeah.
and we can start with we can go on for days, but one big one for me is Oblak. I know he's been loyal to the club and he's been there for a long time, but it's been quite some time, hasn't it? With
Yeah,
Oblak there, it's been like 13 years, maybe at
maybe
least
been blessed with that.
10, 9 or 10 years. So very strange how they have said, okay, you know what, let's figure this out. Let's bring. I know they brought Juan Musso in, who's also a pretty good goalkeeper, but
Yeah.
still not top tier. So I've seen some very questionable goals let in by Oblak over the last couple of years. And those things will definitely hurt that play style because if you need Griezmann to do those things, if you need all that can go out the water with a defensive mistake or a goalkeeper.
True. Fair
So
enough.
yeah, I know that was that. I guess we'll move that to Fred's help. Great. Last matchup, go quickly. Olympiakos versus Leverkusen. Another interesting one. I think both teams probably similar boats. Uh, clearly outside of the top three leagues type matchup. So yeah, I honestly wouldn't really know what to say about this matchup other than it could be a toss up.
Well, I got Leverkusen on top on this one. I think Olympiakos
Leverkusen.
is yeah. Even though
Fair enough.
Lever it's been on kind of a unstable time after Xavi Alonso left. I think the new after Ten Hag left, I think the new coach is kind of finding the balance there with that team. So I don't think they would be a hard team to beat for Leverkusen. Talking about Olympiakos.
Facts. No, you know what? Now that you put it like that, I do agree. I do think that Leverkusen probably still has more firepower at this moment. And Olympiakos, they would definitely be looking to park the bus and trying to do something like that in this situation. So, yeah, I do agree with Leverkusen being the upper hand. Yeah, and that's pretty much it for
The Champions League.
the playoff matchups. Now, of course, the top eight. All right, so we'll quickly go over the top eight. Of course, Arsenal, Bayern, Liverpool, Tottenham, Barcelona, Chelsea, Sporting, and Man City got into the top eight. So they will essentially get an automatic pass into the round of 16, which doesn't guarantee, any favorable matchups, if we all know. But from the top eight, I guess, is there any, obviously, I know you said you're unsure about Barcelona, but is there any top two, top three teams after watching these past few weeks? I know we talked about it already. Are you still with Arsenal as your top candidate?
Yeah, definitely Bayern and Arsenal, my top candidates, with Real Madrid after. Yeah, I think those are my top three. Probably Inter after, because I don't think this top eight is going to determine the winner of this Champions League. I don't think it will. I think there is a lot of the teams that are out of the top eight that have lots of chances, in my opinion, right?
That too. As for me, I do have a couple teams that I've kind of assessed, and I feel like, in the format, they might have a great chance. One of which is Chelsea. I've kind of reassessed what they're doing with their new coach as well. Some of their players that are playing really well and in form. And I think, yeah, over two legs for any team, they're going to be very tough with Moise Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez. We'll talk about as well. So I am putting Chelsea there with Arsenal as well. I still have PSG as a bit of a candidate, right? And I think that if they're healthy enough by these games, they're still going to be hard to face for any.
Yeah.
And after if they beat Monaco, of course, Inter I still have there. I think we still have a little bit of work to do to become more solid and also to score in big games. Right? We know that's against medium-sized teams right now. For smaller teams, we can easily erase them, but we need to, put our foot forward. And I think there will be. I think we've had some good learning points throughout the season without having to compensate our season type thing. So
Yeah.
I think we will be more prepared, for the coming matchups. And another dark horse that I want to slip in there. I know it's crazy, but I'm gonna slip in Tottenham. Reason is they won, I believe, the Europa League last year, right? So a lot of the similar players still on the team probably understand the importance of these European dates. They are not competing in the Premier League whatsoever, right? So they are all in on the Champions League. Christian Romero has been having some big moments over there as well. So just as a dark horse, not as a favorite candidate, but just I'm gonna throw Tottenham in there. And
Awesome. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's that. All right. Next up, of course, I want to quickly get that Manchester United update. Our homeboy is closer to the haircut than ever, right?
Very close.
Very
And the
close.
fifth game would be Aston Villa, right?
Aston
What's the
Villa.
next one?
Let's look that up right now. Let's check it out. So they actually face Tottenham the next game,
Okay.
and which I said they're not focused on the league right now. Tottenham,
They are not.
it's an early game, a very early game. It'll be at 7:30 in the morning, so it'll probably be,
People are gonna be watching that game.
yeah.
I will be watching it.
Right. So yeah, let's see what happens. So they have Tottenham and West Ham. I mean, this really could be it,
This could be it, yeah.
right? The 5 wins. So I mean, I know we're all excited because and it's good. Obviously, that Man United, they don't have any European competition right now that they're competing in. So, yeah, no, it's gonna be awesome. See,
It is
as for
time for that guy to get his haircut and stuff.
it's
So
about
I
time.
think,
I'm so tired of seeing him on my feed with his freaking bush of a head. So
but you know what? I think Carrick has, like you said, motivated these players in a different way. I think the mental side of playing football, it's very overlooked. Like, oh, you think about tactics and this and that, but there is like the mental side where you have to be 100% with your coach, and you have to, like, your coach has to be able to
for sure.
make you play with all you have, right? So I think Carrick has at least that part he has it covered for this team that he's coaching.
Yes. No, a lot of the players have come out. I don't want to say a lot, but a few of the players have come out and mentioned that how he's made strides and really affected them personally. So I know Lisandro Martinez, he actually made a quote and said, "Carrick touched my heart." So it's clearly getting through.
Good.
All right, yeah, we will continue the Carrick Ball saga. I think it's always good for football whenever one of the bigger teams, finally gets their stride and looking better, right? So, all right.
Yep.
Next up, I wanted to do quickly is a January transfer window recap. So I'm just going to go
Yep.
through some of the big signings that I have listed here. If any of them strike a topic for you, you can go ahead and shout it out, and we could talk about it. Yeah, the big one, I guess, the highest transfer fee that was paid was for Anton Semenyo, came from Bournemouth to Man City. He's already scored a couple big goals. He already looks pretty good. He's honestly, he's a really good athlete. I will say that. I've watched him play even for Bournemouth. Very strong, very pacey, has good ball control. It's yet to see whether this is a really good season for him. Because some players do that sometimes. They have great seasons, and then the next couple of years not so much. But I think more so, I see a lot of good qualities from him. And Man City also purchased Mark Gahey, which is a defender in the Premier League, for 23 million from Crystal Palace. So I guess they needed some help on the defensive end. A couple other big ones: Brennan Johnson to Crystal Palace for 40 million. Adam Ololukman, who we talked about, to Atletico Madrid, 35 million. Tati Castellanos, who's playing for Lazio. He's an Argentinian striker, very good striker, but essentially went to West Ham. He's kind of on at that level, that West Ham, West Ham mid-tier, mid-club type level. Another big one, actually, Karim Benzema. I don't know if you've been following anything that's going on in the Saudi.
Down big.
Yeah, we can definitely touch on that. So Karim Benzema is now playing for Al Hilal, and he was transferred from his former club Al Ittihad. I believe because they said that they were no longer going to pay him, or he was only going to get paid for his image rights or something like that. They tried to alter something in his contract or didn't give him the type of renewal that he wanted. So he said, peace out. Which is very interesting. Tammy Abraham is going back to the Premier League to Aston Villa. Ismail Kone, who's a Canadian player, I believe his option was triggered to buy from Sassuolo for 10 million, which is really good because 10 million is kind of a high price for him. So I think that they think his progression is going really good, and they'll probably end up selling him for 40 or 50, which could be a good. Yeah, which could be a good move. Maher Carrizo, who is an under-20 Argentinian player, actually got transferred to Ajax for 10 million from Vélez Sarsfield. Maher Carrizo featured in the under-20 World Cup. He had like 4 or 5 goals, and he's been one of the stars in the Argentinian league actually over the last 2 years. So Ajax is a good program to continue his development. Enzo Fernández, I know from Barca, went to PSG, I believe, for
8 million.
8 million, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
8.5, you could say.
Cool little pickup. I mean, I think I've seen him play one time, but I wasn't.
Good player.
Yeah. Another one is Obed Vargas. I believe he's a Mexican player who actually got picked up by Atletico as well.
Yeah, I saw that too.
From the MLS. So we always like to see, North American to European transfers. It's, what helps us here. Yeah, other than that, there was a couple loans with Daniel Malin to Roma, Douglas Luiz back to Aston Villa after he broke up with his girlfriend, Alicia Laban. I don't know if you know anything about that, but that's a pretty hilarious story.
I know her. Yeah, I know her.
Yeah, so essentially both of them signed to Juventus last year because they were a couple, they were dating. So she signed to Juventus Women's, he signed to Juventus Men's. They broke up, right? They signed as a couple, they ended up breaking up, and now, Luis is back to the Premier League. Endrick, of course, is a big one. I think touched on that a little bit. Loaned out to Lyon, and he's already absolutely cooking in Lyon. I think he scored a hat-trick, right?
Yes.
Very big one. Ethan Nwaneri, who is Arsenal's young player, he got loaned to Marseille. And Claudio Echeverri, after a failed loan at Leverkusen, is now on Girona. So very interesting January. I mean, it seems like a lot of teams were just going for depth.
Ter Stegen and Cancelo.
Cancelo, I was going to mention, but we did talk about it, so I did leave it off. But yes, Cancelo, definitely to Barcelona. And Ter Stegen went where?
He's on Girona right now.
As a loan?
Yes.
No way.
Yep. What? Yeah, but unfortunately, he's gotten injured.
Different situation. Interesting.
He played 1 or 2 games for them, very good, and then he got injured though.
Yeah, it's Ter Stegen's injury problems have been just holding him back for quite some time. It's unfortunate, but it's part of the game. He was definitely an amazing goalkeeper in his prime, especially that maybe his first few years in Barcelona, especially absolutely outstanding. Yeah, I guess another last one, Kendry Paez. I don't know if you heard about him, and he's an Ecuadorian player for Chelsea. Kendry Paez, he got loaned to River Plate now, so he's going to be playing in River.
That's crazy.
From what I've heard is he's had some discipline issues and partying, going out, stuff like that. Chelsea has been, having a hard time managing it. I think he did play a couple games for Chelsea originally.
Yeah.
And then it just didn't work out. So is there any players from there that you want to specifically talk about that I went over?
Well, I think I want to speak about Draw, maybe. That's the one that I have more information about.
Sure.
What about yourself? Is there any?
No, I think I covered the Semenyo one in one of the talks that I did. Yeah, I was just going to say overall, it seems like a lot of the teams are going for depth and, at this using the window just for depth and development, essentially. I think Karim Benzema was the only on fire type move,
Oh yeah, so that one is the one I actually want to talk about because it's like I don't know what Cristiano is on a strike. He's not playing because of that. Is that true?
Yeah, apparently he didn't play in their last game because he is saying that, and it's funny, it's interesting that I actually learned that there's one company that actually owns majority of the top clubs there. So Al Nasser, Al Hilal, Al Ittihad, or whatever, essentially they're all owned by one company, right?
Well,
And he's saying that that company is not putting any money into Al Nassr, but they're putting money into the other clubs, which honestly is absolutely ridiculous, for
Absolutely.
the top paid athlete in sports to say that, hey, you know what, you guys aren't signing enough players. What are you guys doing? And you're getting paid the most out of everybody. Let me hear your thoughts.
Well, there is Joao Felix, Inigo Martinez, Mane,
Americ
Kingsley
Laporte,
Coman, Laporte. Uh,
Brozovic.
who's the goal?
Is it? It's not Bono. It's I forget.
No, Bonus. Yeah. And then
Anyways, I
Cristiano.
get your point. I get your point. It's you
You know what
have
I'm saying? It's almost funny that he's saying that.
yeah
I feel bad for him. I don't know. I think at this point, I mean, I'm probably a bigger fan of Cristiano than Messi, which is something interesting to say. I don't think I've ever mentioned that to you.
right.
I think it's just it's subjective to think that Messi is better than Cristiano in many ways. But for me, like I grew up, watching Cristiano a lot more. Even except those 9 years that he was in Real Madrid, I covered my eyes.
Yeah.
But in Manchester United and Sporting Lisbon, I still remember the Euro Cup in 2004, and in Juventus too. I watched him, and he's coming back to Manchester United. I'm just a huge fan of him, and it's a bit sad to see him, do these interviews and talk bad about other players and getting into fights almost with other players and talking down on Messi or whatever he's accomplished. I think it's just a bad look at this point. I am okay with him having his opinion of, okay, I'm the best because of, he gives his arguments, but then cut it off there. Like, you don't have to diminish the other people's, like, accomplishments because of that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the big thing. When you talk about the greatest player ever, it's character that comes with it, and we've seen it with all the legends. You know what I mean? With Pele, Maradona, with Cruyff, with Beckenbauer, with R9 Fenomeno, Zidane. You know what I mean? There's this common respect, a common respect for football. And when we go to this situation now, where it's greed. You know what I mean? There's a lot of greed involved. Clearly, that he's kind of played his career towards that direction where morality and respect is not really within his character. And not to say that at all. I'm pretty sure he has moments where he's a great guy. But
I'm sure he's a great guy. That's the worst part. I'm sure he's a great guy, but after 2022, every single interview he's had, it's just like, why are you saying that? Like, just you don't even have to stay quiet. Just say something else.
yeah,
Because he does have arguments to say I'm the best. He does have it. It's not. It's You can he has the argument that he's played in several leagues. He has the argument that I always talk to my father about this. I think Messi is the best player with the ball, and Cristiano is the best player without the ball. Like, he's the best going into space. Like,
yeah,
he has technical arguments to say, oh, I'm the best. Although I would still objectively say that Messi is better, but he does have a roster of arguments to say I am the best, and he should focus on that instead of diminishing what other.
exactly. And I think his fan base also does not do him justice, because
No.
see how you pointed out what Cristiano is actually good at. You know what I mean? It's the same thing I say all the time. Cristiano is great at recognizing space. It's football. You know what I mean? It's Messi recognizes the same space. Don't get me wrong. You know what I mean? It may be in a different way because they have different positions and different things that they're doing on the pitch. But yeah, so when Cristiano's fan base starts to talk, they start saying he's fast, he shoots strong, he does free kicks, he's lightning quick. Like, you know what I mean? Like, all the cheap characteristics of this guy is what they choose to point out. And it's like the most expensive characteristic. You guys don't get it. You know what I mean? His fan base, that
Yeah.
is.
Well, I am a Cristiano fan, so I could speak on their behalf. Like, there's there's a lot of arguments for him to be the best, and people should actually analyze his game, because I just think that, oh, he scores more goals. I've even heard, like, he's better looking, he's a better guy. Like,
Yeah,
he's
exactly. Yeah, like when you're bringing up those things, like you're automatically
yeah, you
you're automatically
automatic
discounting your
bias.
your
So
football knowledge. Like you're not
yeah,
you're not in the conversation. You see, like, we do our weekly podcast because we know football to the core. You know what I mean? So if you say that to guys like us, you're like a cheap freaking football pundit. It's cheap argument. You know what I mean? So And we have expensive tastes here at 90 minutes or more when it comes to football.
Or the simple argument of saying Cristiano is a hard worker and Messi is not the
Yeah,
hard worker. Dude, like I think going into space is a talent that not many people
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
100%.
I think Rafinha is the only guy I see in today's football that has that ability. I don't see anybody else with that
I'd
ability.
have to think about that, but yeah, no, for
Yeah,
sure, for sure. It's the space that he understands. But you know, my thoughts as well is also, you know, and I know a lot of people would counter it with Messi or whatever, but like the penalties, right? The overdrawnness of like scoring, but not always extraordinary or kind of being put in position to score. Whereas Messi, you're kind
yeah,
of getting more value, from a football watching standpoint with the way he scores and the way he
yeah.
plays the game. So, but to I guess to go back to this topic, like we were saying, with what's going on in Saudi, I know a lot of people have always obviously been interested in the Saudi league since Cristiano joined, right, for the last 4 years. But I've always been on the idea that this was never going to be sustainable, right? It's a league that's not based on development. It's not based on the core fundamentals of football. It's not based on, the core fundamentals of what a club's supposed to be and what a league is supposed to be. So I just always seen the Saudi league as unsustainable, and not really having a great longevity. What's going to happen when Cristiano retires and he's not there no more? And the fact that they essentially extract like top European talent that essentially would rather go for money and wouldn't. That's my own positive comment about the Saudi league, is that somebody could go there and make a bag. You know what I mean? A player that, maybe they don't care about Europe too much, or maybe
Yeah.
they're
I would,
accomplished, or
to be honest, if I was
yeah,
a soccer player, I would probably do that.
financially it makes sense, but like I said, development wise, longevity wise, sustainability, I do not think that the Saudi league is in any condition to say that, what, this is going to be good over the next 5 to 10 years. I think it could collapse any year, right, on itself. Clearly, as these guys go deeper and deeper into their pockets without making any money back, that's also going to be a problem. You know what I mean? Saudi TV rights, the stadium sales, the ticket sales. You're never going to be in a profitable revenue, um, to operate a football league like that. So yeah, I think that, once again, I think the project was very underdeveloped and underthought in as a whole, and now we're getting to these breaking points where Cristiano's on strike, Benzema went on strike. You know what I mean? So you have the two top players of your league that essentially went on strike and said, "I'm not playing." So where's the power in the league? Is clearly the powers with the players. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you have anything else to add onto that.
Well, not really. I wanted to say something because I am from Peru, so I wanted to mention something important about the Saudi League and countries like Peru, Venezuela, Bolivia, basically countries that are not famous in terms of like soccer signings. Like, let's say if you were from Brazil, if you were from Argentina, if you were from Uruguay, you do have a lot more chances to be signed in Europe, and especially from an important team.
Right.
But when you are from Peru, Venezuela, Bolivia, even Colombia, you could say, that's why lots of players take the path to go to those leagues.
Hmm.
And I actually, if any player from Peru is listening to me right now, I would actually advise them to go there because they have great infrastructure, they have great gyms, they have all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, right? Because Carrillo, for example, Andre Carrillo, one of our best players, he played for Al Hilal for many years, and I would argue that he was on his prime when he was playing there, and he was
Right.
making a lot of money.
Right. Right.
I think the fact that he was from Peru maybe didn't allow him to sign for a team like Barcelona or like Real Madrid or even like Atletico Madrid. Farfan as well. He never played for one of the big clubs too. Like I still can rub my head around it, and that's why a lot of people from my country, countries like Colombia, countries like Venezuela, they always go to make a bet there because they know that because of marketing things, they would never have the same amount of opportunity to go to a big club in Europe, right?
Right.
So
Right.
I
Right.
want to mention that shortly.
Right. 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 I mean, I think, yeah, no, for sure. that does make sense, for the mid-tier South American countries, for the players to keep that as an option. For me personally, I would actually prefer the MLS for those countries over Saudi Arabia. I think the MLS has way better infrastructure. I think that the
True.
pathways is already there. I think that the development is already there. I think that, clearly if you look at the league rankings, the MLS is way above the Saudi Pro for sure in terms of the league as a whole. And then when you talk about the Saudi league, there's only about 4 or 5 teams that are really interested in these type of exports. So that leaves about 15 teams that might not be necessarily in that market. So for that reason, I think it's overhyped. However, I do agree still that, hey, if you are playing in Peru and an opportunity comes up to make some money and go play for a year or two, get some experience, by all means, do it. But
Yeah.
don't think that the South
Well,
is in a place where, yeah,
I do think the MLS is great too for those countries as well. But
yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
giving you the other option because
for
there's
sure.
players from Peru that played in the MLS too. They did pretty well.
Hmm.
It's all about the infrastructure, the coaches they have, the gyms they have, the physical preparation they have. It's a little bit better. So I don't know how much you know about those mid-tier countries in South America, but
Hmm.
there was a time that we had a great team and that we had a lot of players playing in the MLS, a lot of players playing
Yeah,
in
for
Saudi,
sure.
and we're doing really well.
Even the goalie, what's his name?
Yeah, Galese.
Yeah, he was one of the best goalies in the MLS. He won goalkeeper of the year, everything. You know what I mean? So for Orlando, especially, he's like one of their legends over there. So
Absolutely.
I think cultural wise too, because even if you think about it, like, there's
Yeah.
obviously a lot of Latinos in the United States, the community, the language. This is a big crossover. To go to Saudi as a Latino, no sabe nada. Like, you don't know, you know what I mean? You don't know the language, you don't know
Yep.
the food, you don't know. So
Facts.
it's also a big risk. And if you think about it, even to circle back to this, is Messi was offered $1 billion per season to go play in Saudi, and he said no way, no thanks, because he already knows the cultural dynamic. He doesn't even like speaking anything but Spanish. Now he's gonna have to deal with learning Saudi Arabia. They have their own rules and customs there. I believe at one point there was a player who had to fly to a different country to see his wife because they weren't married or something like that. So even like there's a whole subset of rules, cultural changes that you would go through over there that for some players it's the money is worth it. For others, I'd say for 80%, it's not going to work. Yeah, you're losing so much on your life and your lifestyle. And I was always saying that about Saudi from the beginning. Because especially I know for a guy like Messi, who's Argentinian, very culturally strong, very essentially they have their own customs and things that they like, foods that they like, way of living, whatever it is. So lifestyle is always going to be there.
Especially going to Miami is a great choice for him.
Yeah.
I think was the best choice he could have taken for sure.
Yeah, I know, I know. It's so funny because if you were to say this like 10 years ago, it's like, what the heck, But now looking at it,
And
like,
funny
yeah,
enough, I think 10 years ago that was in the books for him and for David Beckham too.
probably. But you know what I'm trying to say? Like,
Yeah.
us as fans, we're not thinking that at all. But yeah, no, Miami was an excellent choice. Latino community, you know what I mean? The vibes, the weather, everything. So a lot of times we forget that, when talking about these footballers, is that they still have, their own culture, customs. Even for a guy like, say, John David went to Italy. So, they said he was struggling with language, this, that, but now he's scoring. So sometimes it takes time. Sometimes it's just not a right fit. So,
Yeah.
anyways, it's sad to see with the Saudi league, like I said, but I've been calling for it. I think that it's just too unstable. And my prediction, I will make a bold prediction and say that, within the next 5 to 10 years, we're not going to see as many Saudi league exports as we would have thought. I think once Cristiano's out the league, and who knows, he could be out the league as of next week, as if he wants to leave or continue his strike. So I think once Cristiano's out the door, it'll just be too unattractive for people to make that trip there.
Yeah.
That's my prediction anyway. So all right.
Yeah. Well, if you remember the last thing, there was a couple of players that actually returned to Europe after being in the Saudi league.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah, you're right about.
good point, actually, because Cristiano was making this whole ordeal, he actually ended up blocking some of the transfers. So Kante was supposed to go back to Fenerbahce to play in Europe, which would have been amazing to see Kante back in Europe. It would have been amazing for the
Definitely.
French team for him to, get some time for the World Cup, but now it's not happening. Uh, yeah, so that is pretty much it for the January transfer window. Very exciting window.
Yeah.
We have a couple more topics left that we'll go through. One of which I want to talk about is Enzo Fernández, who's been making absolute headlines lately, scoring clutch goals. He's been providing goal contributions like crazy for Chelsea. He's been the man in the middle of the pitch, organizing the tempo, and we're really seeing a breakout. Although he's been FIFA Young Boy at the World Cup, FIFA Golden Boy, sorry. He's won the Club World Cup, won the Conference League with Chelsea, won the World Cup, won Copa America with Argentina. And so it's kind of building up to this, but it seems like this is kind of like breakout right now. And the reason I wanted to bring it up is because with what he's accomplished over the last 6 to 12 months, and then thinking about the fact that Finalissimo was coming up, he's still in the fight for the UCL, he's still in the fight for the World Cup. I'm putting him on that Ballon d'Or shortlist as of this moment.
Really?
Yeah, I definitely am. I think that based off of what we've seen with Rodri, right, and based
Okay.
off that format as well, I believe there's no reason to look at his performances. And like I said, with some luck in the World Cup, at least in the Champions League, we could be talking about that by the next year. And any thoughts that you have on him so far?
Well, I don't think I would go as far as what you say,
Mhm.
but yeah, it's a player that I definitely like. He's very good in that. I wouldn't say he's a box to box midfielder. He's a player. He's physical, but at the same time, he really knows how to control the game in the midfield, especially in
Yeah.
the double people. Sometimes Chelsea plays. Yeah.
He knows when to
So
go high, when to go low. So it's like
absolutely.
you're talking about a player that almost does, I don't want to say everything for the team, but does a lot for the team and then scores goals at the same time. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm,
Very
I'm
good.
positioning it with, hey, sir, if he's able to win, a big trophy over the next 6 months, and be somewhat of the main character, how could you not? How
Yeah.
could you not? Yeah, that's where I kind of see him now, and I want to see where it goes. I think this purple patch is where he's supposed to be because it's he's 24, 25 now. I think he's kind of in his prime. He's at that age, so um, yeah, very, very. And then when you think about it, even like Vitinha last year, he was shortlisted on the top 5 for Ballon d'Or. So I think it's going in that trajectory. And you guys can come back and roast me after if it doesn't. But
Absolutely.
yeah, no, yeah, 100%. All right. So next topic
CPL.
is CPL. Exactly, the rebrand. Now I did send you the post that I did post up. Did you get to go over it and kind of understand what's going on a little bit?
A little bit, but I rather you take over here because I want to hear you.
Yeah, so essentially what the CPL and Canada Soccer has essentially done is obviously, okay, we know that we have the CPL, the Canadian Premier League, which is Canada's professional league. We now have 8 teams with the Quebec Supra now joining up. So it's finally 8 teams. It's rounding out. I'm confident that it's going to expand to more teams in the next few years. Uh, but now what happens is we've always had League One Ontario, League One British Columbia, and these were kind of like the semi-pro leagues that serve as a developmental hub in Ontario and all the different provinces. And that's where, say for instance, the Borough United, who's a team based out in Scarborough, they play at Birchmount Stadium. They were playing in League One Ontario. So now they've rebranded into 4 core leagues, which is the Alberta Premier League, the Ontario Premier League, the Prairies Premier League, and the British Columbia Premier League. So what it does essentially is it makes it more cohesive for people to understand that it's all going towards one body. Whereas before it was like, this is this is that, this is that. Now it's rebranded into one shape, right? And essentially the idea is obviously to get the youth and the young players into these pro amateur leagues, right? And let that be the development hub for the CPL to make their signings, for the CPL to, go and fetch some different scouting and recruitments from these leagues, right? So with the rebrand, obviously we're going to get better updates on who's doing well those leagues, scoring, who are some of the top prospects, right? Yeah, essentially, you know what I mean. I think this is going to generate a more clarity from the other leagues, the other football bodies. First, look at Canada and be like, this is what it is, right? It's not at its relegation phase yet. I do want to mention that it's not something where teams are getting relegated back and forth, right? It's not there yet. They're still building towards it, but like I said, it's going to serve as that primary development hub. So, what do you think about that change? What do you?
I think it's definitely more and more positive for it makes it more competitive, right? And I think it's a beta. It's not fully developed yet.
Yeah, yeah.
And it also makes it easier for kids that want to start playing in those clubs to get there actually and to represent their, either Ontario or Quebec or British Columbia, wherever they are. Because is it gonna be like is it gonna be like a playoff after, like the best of each place gonna play against? How's it gonna be?
There might be regional interplay, but the way I see it, essentially, those four Premier Leagues, like I said, they were already leagues before, and those leagues have, I believe, two divisions each, right? So it could be like Division A, Division B in the Ontario Premier League, right? And I think they run their own league. I'm not sure if it's going to be regional competition like that. I don't know if that's necessary or at this point, or so to speak. But yeah, essentially, you look at it like, okay, so the Ontario Premier, right? Burnley United, they play in the Ontario Premier, right? The Ontario Premier League, I believe, might have anywhere between 12 and 20 teams. It's Division A and Division B, right?
Yeah.
And they compete at the semi-professional level. They obviously still win their titles. But because I guess that semi-pro is more so for people aged, say, 16 to 25 type thing, that's where we're going to keep it to get a lot of recruits in, kind of build that leverage there. So I guess to give a clear example, right? I want to give a clear example. Recently, the Halifax Wanderers ended up selling a 22-year-old striker named Thiago Condero. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. He's 22 years old. He scored, I believe, 20 goals and 60 appearances for Halifax, right? He now got sold to the Swedish First Division, to a team in Sweden, right? So if you look at it this way, he's 22 years old, getting sold, exported to Sweden, right? And his complete rights to go over, and he's now be able to continue his career and development in Europe.
Yeah.
So the trajectory would be is to get a player at like 15 or 16, right? Playing in the Ontario Premier League, playing for one of these teams, right? If you get in early at say 16, 17 years old, sign for a pro-am regional team, right? You do good in that pro-am regional level, then you get signed to the CPL, right? And then once you get signed to the CPL, you spend, say you're 19 now, right? You spend a couple years developing in the CPL. Maybe you do really good. You're now 21. Now you're on the radar to go to Europe. So for me, that would be the pipeline, right? Is to start these kids off in the Ontario Premier League, British Columbia Premier Leagues, all these regional leagues, get them good enough to get to the CPL, and from there, then their career can, have more eyes on them in that regard. So
Definitely.
I think that would be the perfect pipeline. Obviously it probably needs some work, but if we can get it there, then it's going to be better for Canadian as a national team, Canadian footballing exposure that we're going to get. So is that pipeline kind of more clear in that regard now?
Yeah, definitely. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Cool. And lastly, of course, the CPL is starting on April 5th. So of course, as you know, we are going to be there at some of the Inter-Toronto matches, covering some of the media. So definitely look out for that. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun with the new team, Supra now in it. Finally, 8 teams, a little bit more competitive. I do believe CPL is at its highest interest over the last few years. So I'm excited. Any thoughts on that at all?
No, I'm excited about it too. Like, we're probably going to be watching and be on Inter Toronto's games.
Yeah.
Most likely we're going to be there
Yeah.
supporting the team. They signed a couple of players that in the channel, you can see you interview one of them, right? And you
Yeah.
also interview the coach. I think he has a great project as well. I think the whole project of Inter Toronto, it's interesting. Definitely, it's pretty well structured. So I think they definitely can do something with it.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. No, it's going to be very fun. So, yeah, as soon as the weather gets a little warmer here in Toronto, we can, start getting out there and start to see what it's going to be looking like for the season. So, absolutely amazing. Lastly, before we go, of course, you already know, are affiliated with BioSteel, and you guys do get a discount, right, on all of the BioSteel products. That's 20% off. So essentially, that's 15%, which is your tax, plus an additional 5% off. So no tax, and you pay below retail price, 20% off with our discount code. You have to use our code, which is 90.minutes or more. I will, of course, post that in the description and also here clip. So yeah, make sure you get your BioSteel products. Make sure you take it with your oatmeal, just like Vicente in the morning, and you'll be ready to rock.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, no, it's been a good chat. Any last thoughts for some upcoming stuff? Barca game, big Barca games coming up, Classico, and like that.
No, like Barca is playing right now in a couple hours against Albacete for the Copa del Rey.
Okay,
So I'm excited for that.
cool.
Yeah. And about the Champions League, it would be interesting if we can like stream at least our reactions of us watching the game and then stuff. If we can Discord it, and
Yeah,
it'll be
yeah.
interesting.
Yo, if you want to do the Inter one, let me know. The Inter
Yeah,
with Bodo. Yeah, I think
we
that's.
can
I think it's on the 17th or 18th or something like that. But yeah, we can
yeah.
do that for sure. Cool, cool, cool.
All right.
All right, perfect. Yeah, sounds good. That's a wrap. I appreciate you guys for sticking with us. You already know 90 minutes or more. Find all the clips on Instagram and TikTok as well. And yeah, we'll see you next week. All right, adios, guys.